What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, August 27th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:16 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Europe and from here in the US. So we currently have US nuclear forces on maximum alert for some reason. Yesterday, we also had U.S. nuclear forces on maximum alert. We had two presidential doomsday planes airborne yesterday, and right now we have a presidential doomsday plane airborne. We have two nuclear war command and control planes airborne. We have three B-52 nuclear bombers airborne. And interestingly, we have a recon plane flying over Florida. And what's interesting about this one is that it took this north to south path, which means that it was looking towards the Gulf of America. So this is extremely concerning. For some reason, our recon assets are monitoring the Gulf of America. And here's one of the nuclear war command and control planes. It was flying over the Atlantic here off the coast of Virginia all morning and all afternoon, and you can see that it was doing some loops over here, which means that it was actually communicating with our submerged nuclear armed submarines. They typically only do this when something is about to happen. Okay, they're sending out updated targeting information to our Ohio class subs through VLF, very low frequency. They have a trailing wire antenna that's really long, and when they deploy the antenna, they can communicate with submerged subs and send out targeting information and launch orders if necessary. Here you can see three B-52s over Louisiana, which is very unusual. Here's another nuclear war command and control plane that just took off from Tinker Air Force Base, which is their home base. So guys, get prepared. Something is about to go down. I think that we're going to strike Venezuela very, very soon. So I want to update you guys on that. So Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez announced that naval drones, vessels, and river patrol units will be deployed in the Caribbean Sea against the U.S. Navy. So Venezuela will be deploying warships, drones, and river patrol units now. We're also hearing that a Los Angeles class fast attack sub, the USS Newport News, will arrive in the southern Caribbean next week, according to Reuters. Also, the U.S. will also be deploying another missile cruiser. And I want to remind you guys that this Los Angeles class attack sub can carry 12 Tomahawk missiles, but that's actually nothing compared to some of the other naval hardware that we're moving down towards Venezuela. So I want to just read to you the total count of military hardware that we know is going down to Venezuela. 3 Arleigh Burke class destroyers, 1 Ticonderoga class missile cruiser, a Los Angeles class fast attack sub, and that's a nuclear powered sub, P-8 Poseidon sub hunters, a Wasp class amphibious assault ship carrying 4,000 Marines. Okay, so I want to remind you that each of those 3 Arleigh Burke destroyers have 90 to 96 vertical launch tubes. So they can carry up to 90 or 96 Tomahawk missiles or SM-3 missile interceptors. Okay, so, and then there's also the Ticonderoga class missile cruiser. So between the subs and the warships, you're talking about the possibility of up to 400 Tomahawk missiles if they're fully loaded out with just Tomahawk missiles, okay, which they probably won't be because they need some defense interceptors mixed in as well. But even if, let's say, half are Tomahawks and then the other half are missile interceptors, you're still looking at 200 Tomahawks at their disposal, okay? And according to the leader of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, 4.5 million members of the national militia have been mobilized, and supplied with rifles and ammunition. He also imposed a 30-day ban on drone use due to the threat of attacks. Venezuela is additionally conducting exercises right now with Iranian anti-ship missiles, okay? So Venezuela has Iranian anti-ship missiles that can take out our warships and our aircraft carriers. And I'm sure they have other kinds of missiles too. Maybe they have Russian ICBMs, who knows? Okay, but they do have Iranian missiles. And from Venezuela to Florida, it's only 1,200 miles. From Miami to Caracas in a straight line is right about 1,200 miles, which an Iranian missile can reach, okay? So I do believe that we're going to be striking Venezuela very, very soon. And in addition to this, we had another incident in Alaska with a Russian reconnaissance plane flying in the Alaskan Air Defense Identification Zone yesterday. That would be the fourth time in the past week. Okay, once on August 20th, once on August 21st, another time on August 24th and August 26th. So 4 times in the last week, the Russians have sent an Ilyushin 20. And this time NORAD responded with an E-3 Sentry AWACS, 2 F-16s, and a KC-135. Okay, now in addition to this, there was also a Russian reconnaissance plane over the Baltic Sea yesterday as well, according to the news outlet Deutsche Welle. German fighter jets were scrambled to intercept a Russian Ilyushin 20 reconnaissance aircraft over the Baltic Sea on August 26th, Deutsche Welle reported. 2 Eurofighter jets took off from the Rostock-Lage Air Base in Germany after the Russian aircraft was spotted with its transponders turned off and without having a flight plan submitted. According to Deutsche Welle, no further details were disclosed about the exact location of the encounter or how long the Russian aircraft remained in restricted airspace. Okay, so they're not releasing any details, but the Germans had to scramble 2 Eurofighter Typhoons, okay, and the Russians did not submit a flight plan and had the transponders turned off. That is very, very concerning. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this video, which is Just In Case Holsters. Guys, if you own a firearm, a knife, or you just want to have a cool leather wallet, check out Just In Case Holsters. I have been working with them just in the last few weeks, and I personally have spoken to the owner several times. He is a solid guy. He's a Navy veteran, and he makes all these holsters by hand, and these holsters are just absolutely beautiful. He sells chest holsters, he sells hip holsters, he sells holsters for knives, and they're all handmade in the USA by him. So very high quality stuff, and he has provided me with a 10% discount code, which is just NYPrepper in all caps lock. I'm going to put a link in the description below to his website with the promo code, but it's justincaseholsters.com, and the promo code is NYPrepper, all caps lock. So check him out. And earlier this morning, we had a lot of reconnaissance over the Baltics. We had a U.S. recon plane flying over northern Poland. We had a NATO AWACS plane patrolling Lithuania and Latvia, and then we had an Italian recon plane flying in the Baltics as well. And the U.S. has told its allies that it is prepared to provide military assets and battlefield oversight to include intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, command and control, as well as aircraft and air defense assets to enable any European-led peacekeeping mission and aerial defense shield on the ground and in the skies over Ukraine, according to several senior officials who spoke with the Financial Times. The offer, voiced in a flurry of meetings between national security officials and military leaders from the U.S. and a number of major European countries in recent days, including Britain, France, and Italy, is contingent on commitments by European allies to deploy tens of thousands of troops to Ukraine. Okay, so the U.S. will provide intelligence support, command and control, air defense, and aircraft to a European-led peacekeeping force as well as an aerial defense shield, but it's contingent upon Europe deploying tens of thousands of troops to Ukraine, okay? And we know that that's a red line for Russia. Okay, so Trump doesn't want to deploy troops into Ukraine, but he's going to be backing them up. All right, so I don't know if Trump is doing this on purpose to kind of lure Putin and get Putin to attack NATO, and then Trump would have justification to strike Russia. You know, we know that Trump had a fantasy of striking Moscow with nukes. He's talked about it many times. And the head of Estonia's Internal Security Service, Margo Palasin, announced that a Ukrainian combat drone crashed in a field near the city of Tartu. The drone's target was objects located in Russia, so a Ukrainian drone crashing in eastern Estonia. And Belgium will deliver F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine as early as next month, the country's foreign minister Maxim Prevot said. The politician did not specify the number of aircraft planned to be sent. Now, in addition to this, we know that the U.S. is going to be delivering over 3,000 long-range missiles to Ukraine that have a range of 250 miles and a 500-pound warhead. Okay, these are special missiles designed and built just for Ukraine. And so we're going to be delivering over 3,000 of them by late October. Okay, so it looks like Trump is going to arm Ukraine to the teeth to try to squeeze Putin into submission. And we're hearing reports that Russian soldiers have advanced in the Kharkiv region and have now entered the northern outskirts of Kupiansk. If you remember, Kupiansk was one of the cities that Ukraine liberated. In the first year of the war, the Russians were fleeing with their tail between their legs. I mean, they were literally fleeing full speed, and now the Russians are slowly entering into this area again. And the Russian government has proposed to Putin to denounce another convention that Moscow signed as a member of the Council of Europe. It concerns the European Convention for the Prevention of Torture and Inhumane or Degrading Treatment or Punishment. Wow. Okay, so the Russian government wants Putin to withdraw from this torture treaty, basically, that Russia signed with Europe, I guess so they can torture Ukrainian and NATO soldiers that they capture. And the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Putin will not sign an agreement with Zelensky because he considers him illegitimate. So guys, I told you weeks ago that there's not going to be any peace deal. There's not going to be any miraculous peace. The war is going to continue, and it's going to actually escalate. And it looks like I'm slowly being proven right. And Ukrainian drones struck with high precision the house of former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych last night. So if you remember, Yanukovych was the Russian-installed leader of Ukraine up until 2014, and then the Ukrainians overthrew Yanukovych. And so I guess the drones targeted his house in Russia now because he fled to Russia after the Ukrainians overthrew him. And some people believe that the CIA was involved in that, and I'm sure they were. And Exxon held secret talks with Russia's biggest energy company, Rosneft, about returning to business in the country in the event that the two governments gave a green light as part of a Ukraine peace process. And two Ukrainian intelligence Black Hawk helicopters were permitted to fly into Polish airspace and landed at Rzeszów Airport, the NATO weapons hub in Poland. Very interesting. And Ukrainian drones attacked the Urozhane railway station in Crimea yesterday. And we're also hearing that Ukrainian attack drones targeted St. Petersburg again and also flew into Moscow yesterday, okay? And we're hearing that Poland, Finland, and Lithuania will create artificial swamps on borders with Russia to deter Russian tanks in case of an invasion. And the German news outlet Bild, citing its analysts and insiders, reports that the Ukrainian military has completely halted Russia's summer offensive. Okay, so the summer offensive is basically over. They did make some gains, though, over the summer. They took Chasiv Yar. They've surrounded Pokrovsk. They have achieved some pretty big successes on the front lines in the eastern part of Ukraine, okay? So the Russians are still slowly chipping away at that front line, okay? And the Temple Institute in Jerusalem announced on Facebook that the shofar has been sounded on the Temple Mount, okay? So the shofar being sounded on the Temple Mount means that the Jews are going to rebuild the third temple, okay? And that is one of the major prerequisites to the tribulation period and the Antichrist coming on the world stage, okay? So we have to be on very, very high alert right now. And the Houthis launched another missile at Israel, forcing Israel to close flights in and out of Ben Gurion International Airport. And the Philippines has given Australia access to military bases on its soil, opening the way for possible deployment of Australian troops to the Philippines. Wow. And here we have a German Air Force recon or sub-hunter plane flying off the coast of the Gotland Island in the Baltic Sea. This was last night. And if you remember a couple of days ago, looks like the Russians may have cut a cable again in the Baltic Sea because the Gotland Island completely lost power and internet. And there were reports that a cable was cut here. Suddenly, we're not hearing about that in the mainstream media anymore. But it looks like another cable might have been cut. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with some more breaking news, probably closer to midnight Eastern time. So tune into my live stream later on tonight. You can also tune into my 24/7 live stream for continuing updates. My excellent moderators, including Ross Niederman, will be updating you guys in the chat throughout the day. You can also listen to our nuclear forces in the stream for any kind of nuclear codes that come in live as they come in. Also, check me out on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to all these updates without any advertisements. And also, I post text updates, abbreviated text updates. If you cannot watch the videos, you can at least get a short summary of the main things that are going on. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.